welcome to this session. My name is Maureen. I am the founder and creator of BarMD. We are a full service bar prep company. So for the UBE, for California, for a lot of other jurisdictions, if you're not UBE or California, we have stuff that can help you. Today, this session is going to be just on where should you be in prep for the upcoming February bar exam. So I'm assuming everybody that's here is prepping for the upcoming February exam. And I like to give tips, give people some benchmarks of where they should be and some goals for the next month as you prep. So that's the focus today. If you're taking July, this won't necessarily be so helpful for you. And I will do one of these in July as well. So you can come back and join that one. But if you want to stay, feel free. It's totally okay. If you have a question that you want me to answer, please put it in the Q&A. If they go in the chat, I get a million things in the chat when I'm in these, which is really lovely and I appreciate. However, it's easier for me to make sure that I get any substantive question answered if you put it in the Q&A. So please do that. And let's get started. All right. So just some tips for February studying. Tips for February. And please just excuse the mess behind me. I'm in the middle of moving. So today I'm going to talk about what study tools can help you. I'm going to talk about each of the 3 sections on the exam a little bit as well. So first, where to focus your attention on the MBE or the multiple choice. Also, I want to talk about issue spotting and how to really do that effectively. And I'm going to talk about some PT practice as well. So first, just some good study tools. And I'll put links to these. We'll send out a follow-up email as well. But one, I have a podcast that's free. It's on Spotify. I haven't updated it in a while, but there's a lot of good review of the Black Letter Law if you want something to listen to. A lot of people really enjoy it. So if you just look up on Spotify, the BarMD podcast, and I will type this in the chat as well, but look for it. Look for it. And I will start recording it more episodes soon too. I just wish I could duplicate myself. Don't you guys wish that? Some people wish they could duplicate me to take the bar exam for them, but I wish we could do that too. It'd be like on what's that show, Suits? A couple of other things that we have that you can get, and I'll put links to these in the chat as well. So we have for California, they're not out for the UBE yet, but for California, I have the quick sheets. This is a really great study tool where you're just going to like memorize the Black Letter Law. It's really good for just quizzing yourself. I try to break it down. So every subject is in 4 pages or less. That's all the California federal distinctions, etc. We also have my essay book and my PT book. Those are both really good resources, especially the PT book. There is still enough time for you to get great use out of it going into this last month. There is still, and I just want to say something because sometimes when I say like you're going into the last month of prep, it freaks people out a little bit because they're like, oh my God, I only have a month left. Anybody feel like that right now? Anybody like have a little bit of panic hit right now? Yeah. You can tell me in the chat. Yes. Yeah. So I just want everybody right now to think about how much, I know it's less than a month, but like basically not a little bit, a lot of it. I get that. I just want you all to think about how much more do you know now than you knew a week ago? And how much more do you know now than you knew 4 weeks ago? So you have to keep that in mind. And for a lot of you that have been working, working like crazy, working full time, hopefully you're going to have some time off coming up. Hopefully you've finished your review of a lot of the subjects, ideally, and now you can just really focus on a few things, on memorization and on practice. That's really what we want the focus to be on in February. It's not reviewing the law in detail and just going like very deep into like rule against perpetuities. Don't spend a whole day trying to learn one little thing right now. Like that's not where your time is best spent. It is a good idea to really work on your PTs in the month of February if that's something that you have been neglecting. And there is absolutely enough time for y'all to fix that right now. So the PT book is a really great resource for that. I will put the link to that in the chat. And even our PT course, it's really helpful for that as well. Let me just get the link for this. I know there's a lot of anxiety around everything at the moment, but there is a good amount of time. So I would say the days when you're studying feel very long, but then like a week will fly by. So I get it. But there's a link to the PT book. Also, the quick sheets, which I mentioned, and also on the website, we have like free study resources. There's links to things, and if you want, you can see a sample of the quick sheets as well there, I believe. Okay, and I will get to all the Q&As as well. So yeah, a lot of people are saying yes, they would like to duplicate me. I wish we could. If I could monetize that, if I could do something and, real Maureen could be off on a beach somewhere and, all the AI duplicate Maureens would be helping y'all. Be amazing. The quick sheets are out of stock for UBE. So, but we have them for California. Sorry that they're not available for the UBE just yet. We also have a couple of things. There's one thing that's not on the screen too. So we have a mock exam that's graded where my team will grade it. And I tell my team to be sort of like a grumpy bar grader. When we grade, we're a little tough because I think bar graders are tough. So we want to tell you what is like, what would a grumpy bar grader give you? So that's sort of a mindset that we go in when we are grading, but it's 5 essays for California plus the 1 PT. If you're doing the UBE, it's the 6 MEEs and it's 2 PTs. And we will grade it for you. If you bought it and don't see it yet, it will be up there in the next couple of days. We were just modifying some of the instructions, making sure everything was tight, but you'll be able to access that very soon. And you just have to submit your work by next Sunday, February 9th. All right. So one other thing that we have that's been really popular is, and we have a couple more left. We have one tomorrow. And then we have, not next weekend, but we have on the weekend of the 15th and 16th, are these things called bar essay checkups. And I just highly recommend everybody do them. It's basically like a proctored mini mock exam. So tomorrow we're doing some of like the MEE subjects and the California subjects. So it's a proctored, basically 3-hour session where you show up, we give you the materials. We provide all of the materials, all of the essays. We give you model answers as well. You show up, you practice as though you were taking the real test. And then you take a little short break, come back, and we're going to review the answers with you and talk to you about what issues you should have seen, some time management, just all sorts of stuff. So it's really, really, people really like them. People really enjoy them. They start at, what time do they start? They start at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. So here is that. So tomorrow's session is, for California, it's community property, wills and trusts, and remedies. And for UBE, it's family law, conflicts, and wills and trusts and estates. So really good session. And then on the 15th, 16th, it's a mix. So we're not going to actually tell you. So it really kind of simulates a mock exam. I think on Saturday we have the essays and Sunday we have the PTs. So join, please feel free to join. People have been really enjoying those because it really does simulate that exam environment, especially California folks where we have the new remote exam. We're administering it with that setup. And it's at the same time, they're always at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And they go for, you write for 3 hours, and then we will do, we review the UBE first for an hour. So California folks get a break for about an hour, then come back, and then we review California. And I'll be there tomorrow. So for those of you that are coming tomorrow, I will be there teaching the essays tomorrow. All right. And we also have one last thing I want to mention that it's a hugely popular thing that we do. Is we do a thing called the final forecast. So I don't do predictions. I hate predictions. I absolutely loathe them because when I took the bar exam, they said, you're not going to get pure remedies. You're not going to get pure remedies. You're not going to get pure remedies. What was essay number 1? Pure remedies. And I was not prepared, and it terrified me and just shook me to my core, basically. So I don't like that. But what I do is different. And I teach you a lot. It's not just like predictions. What it is you come, first of all, I give you a 2-week study schedule. So tell you what to do for 2 weeks. I make you a packet of essays tailored to the upcoming bar exam. So I go through every single subject and I analyze what has been tested recently, what has not been tested recently. And I go through every subject and I say, okay, if you get this subject, these are the topics that are more likely to be tested. And we talk through those. We also talk through all of the frequently tested issues. So everything you should be kind of focusing your attention on in the last couple of weeks. And then what we do is I put together, like I am working on it now, I put together a packet of essays, and you are going to issue spot those essays for the 2 weeks before the bar. So it's going to give you really targeted practice for the essays. I will also give you a good list. I have a list of some good PTs today that you can practice from. Additionally, we talk about things like worst case scenario stuff, like what happens if your power goes out, what happens if you have to handwrite. Side note, like spoiler alert, it's a nightmare if you have to handwrite and you're not used to it. So you should at least just practice handwriting some to know sort of what to do. And so it's the first time you're doing it is not on the bar exam if that were to happen to you. So, but some stuff like that. We talk about how do you make up a rule? What do you do when you have no idea what the essay is asking you to do? Stuff like that. So it's a really good just final forecast, like the final 2 weeks. I do talk about subjects, and they're not my predictions, but I cover a lot of ground. And it just gives you like a really good last 2 weeks. People love it. So just throwing that out there. Okay, talk about goals right now. So your goal for the MBE is to do about 2,000 questions total by the bar exam. It's okay if you don't hit that. This is just the goal. This way we know that you have seen the all of the available questions, whether you have Adaptive Bar or UWorld. Adaptive Bar has about 1,600 questions. UWorld has about 1,800 questions. Anything above 1,400 is either Adaptive Bar written or UWorld written. So you shouldn't get both because for the most part, 80% of it is identical. So your goal is to have done about 2,000 questions, maybe 20, somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500. So that's what you should be doing. You should do, and if you're in my full program, all of this stuff is built in. So you can ignore, like, it's all built in. Like, Maria, I know you've got mine, you just follow along with it. So ideally you're going to do at least one half mock exam. So a 3-hour session and it's 100 questions. And then you want to do one full mock exam. So when I'm talking about this for the multiple choice, 2 3-hour sessions, 200 questions total. And as an aside, the final forecast is on the evening of February 11th. If you've been doing BarMD and their multiple choice, that's fine too. If you have, do UWorld, I don't know about Educato, like their AI, it's not thoroughly vetted to me. So I don't know about that. I can't speak on that. All right, but the goal is that you've done about 2,000 questions. So see where you're at right now, right? If you've done 800 questions and you should be doing 1,200 total from now on the bar, that's kind of a lot, but that's okay. Then take how many days you have left and say, okay, how many questions do I need to average a day? Generally speaking, unless you're doing like a half mock exam or a full mock exam, I don't want you guys doing like 100 questions a day. That's too much. Because to me, I want to give you some parameters on how long it should take you to review. If you do 33 or 34 questions, that's 1 hour. It's probably 2 hours to review if you're reviewing it in depth enough. So that's a 3-hour session right there. So you have to keep that in mind. So every hour of multiple choice questions, if you're doing them timed, it's about 2 hours of review. So you have to keep that in mind. So if you're trying to do 100 questions in a day, that's really, it's like 8 hours right there just to review. So you have to account for that. We're not just like ticking stuff off to get to a number. We want to be very intentional with all of the work that we do. So look at how much. I generally don't recommend people on a regular basis do more than 50 questions a day. All right. And then let me talk about some important stuff too. You want to know about the heavy hitter categories. So generally speaking, what are the more important topics within each subject? So if you have a weakness in anything that is a heavy hitter, you need to really work on that a bit more. It's also not too late for my MBE course. It's 8 short-ish lecture. They're 1 to 2 hours. And we walk through tips for all of the subjects. And I've had people's scores really increase. I'll put up the link for that as well. If you're watching any sort of like videos, I say to do that at the end of the day. Just throwing that out there. I want you to do your most intense active work during the day because you want to get used to that because that's what you're going to be doing on the exam. So civil procedure, the 3 big topics, and you're going to get about 6 questions each, are jurisdiction and venue, pre-trial procedures, and motions. So look at your data in Adaptive Bar or UWorld or whatever program it is. Look at your data and see how are you doing in these topics? And you can do some targeted work on those topics to try to drive those scores up. In contracts, half the questions on contracts are going to be in formation and performance breach and discharge. So check on those. Some things I'll say too about this. In jurisdiction and venue, the thing that people get tripped up on the most is supplemental jurisdiction. There's a lot of nuance there. And when you go through your questions, try to look at like each of these heavy hitters, try to look at them sort of in an isolated manner. So look at all the questions you missed in jurisdiction and venue and say, okay, Is there a pattern that I can see of, what I'm missing? Do I miss a ton of supplemental jurisdiction? Do I miss a ton of just SMJ? So look for patterns in what you're missing. In pretrial procedures, the things that most people miss there are joinder. So knowing all of the various types of joinder, all the joinder tools, et cetera, impleter, interpleader, intervention, class actions, permissive versus compulsory claims, all of that stuff is all in pretrial procedures, and it's a lot. So it's usually joinder that people miss. Motions is kind of a big mix, but you really do need to know your motions, and a lot with the motions is with the timing. So know your timing and when you can bring which particular motions. In formation, what people tend to miss is consideration. So knowing consideration, just in general, especially like the exceptions for like the pre-existing duty rule, there are so many, and I see people miss those left and right. Also with contracts, formation, a lot of it is the timing of, like taking really good notes and noting when a contract has been formed. That's really key. And then, yeah, with performance breach and discharge, constitutional rights, it's just individual rights are half of your con law problems. So you want to be really familiar with those. That's a lot of it is your free speech. And a lot of it is sort of generic discrimination too. Identifying, thanks, Nana, with your individual rights, identifying, what is it that you're missing? Some people miss a lot of takings. Some people get the equal protection, substantive due process, procedural due process. So when you're going in and reviewing, identify what it is. And is it a lot of in con law with the individual rights is just knowing the various standards that are there. And one huge, huge thing that I like to tell people and I like to tell people this stuff because nobody told me when I studied for the bar. I did Barbary, and there was just so much that I didn't know tip wise that could have helped me. So like one thing that I didn't know is, I was like, okay, if it's strict scrutiny, it's strict scrutiny. So I would think strict scrutiny for something in like equal protection was the same as some of the strict scrutiny in speech, but they actually vary a little bit. So like speech, everything in speech is its own bubble. So I put speech in its bubble, like equal protection, substantive due process, all of that in another bubble. So separate things out a little bit. So that's one little tip. And I give a lot of tips and stuff like this and demonstrate how tips work and like walk you through stuff in the MBE minutia class. So if the MBE or multiple choice is, a trouble for you, that class will be so helpful, and it's absolutely manageable to get through with the time that we have left. Torts. Half the questions in torts are negligence. So, and these are approximations on the number of questions. You will get at least 12 in torts, you might get 13. Okay, so with negligence, it's a lot of the things that people miss. First of all, torts, I think, is one of the easier subjects for most people, right? Like it's just conceptually speaking, it makes a little bit more sense. But torts multiple choice questions are tricky because they usually don't, about half the time, or a little bit more than that, they don't tell you what the cause of action is. So they'll say, P sues D for damages. And it could be an intentional tort, it could be products liability, it could be, just regular negligence. So you have to run through numerous torts at the same time. They'll also often do something where they tell you the cause of action, but like they'll really make it sound like it's battery, but they're actually testing negligence. So you have to really do some mental gymnastics and really track and follow along. Evidence, you're going to get 6 each, basically in the following categories: relevance, presentation of evidence, and hearsay. What people miss in relevance is generally character, and presentation of evidence is a lot of impeachment. So that's where those fall. And then hearsay is just, honestly, it's also like in the class, I show you how to sort of diagram hearsay out a little bit and like words to look for to spot double hearsay also. Property is all equal. You're going to get 5 questions per topic. The thing that I will say is that ownership is where people tend to get a low score. And a lot of what people get hung up on there is ownership is a huge category. It's like landlord tenant, special problems, including rule against perpetuities, future interest, present estates. There's tons in there. But like so many, like I tutor for the MBE a lot. And I was going through somebody's MBEs and she had missed a ton just in future interest. And it would take her probably 2 days to learn all the future interest stuff. but which isn't a good use of their time right now. And really, you're probably going to get one question that really tests on future interest. So, you got to really like figure out how much time is worth it to spend on a particular thing that you might struggle with. So it's putting some stuff within, in context. And then crim law and procedure is equally split between crim and crim pro. And within crim pro, really look at, are you missing Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment? Usually a lot of Fourth Amendment, a lot of Miranda, but it's really like so much is happening in each problem. You just have to sort of track it as you go. So, and I see that there's a bunch of questions coming in, and I will definitely, I'll definitely get to those. All right, essays. Your essays goals. Ideally, you will write in full 5 essays in each subject, covering all the major topics in each subject. So that's the goal. And then yeah, for every full essay that you do, and if you are not, no, this is not a day, this is total. It's total that I want you to do throughout bar prep. So 5 essays in each subject and covering all of the major topics within each subject, and you're writing them in full. If you are not writing essays closed note and timed, you need to start doing it now. And the reason for this is it helps with your memorization. Every time you do something where you force your brain to recall a rule, even if it's a struggle, it's okay. Because every time you do that, it sticks better. So this is how you get faster in your writing, and it's how you remember and memorize for the bar, because it's going to stick more. So this is literally like, it comes from a book called Make It Stick on memorization. So you need to start doing that. And if you're not, please start doing it now. And it's going to be a struggle at first. And I know y'all are anxious right now, but you will improve if you do it. So any of y'all scared to write essays closed note right now? Or have you guys been doing it? Tell me in the chat. And this applies for California and MEEs. Yeah, tell me, right? Scared, or you can, yeah. So I know a lot of people are. So if you're scared to do it, one thing you can do is grab the essay, issue spot it, and be like, all right, it's testing me this, and this. Then go and review, like stop your timer, review the law for like 20 minutes. Like, you're looking at like negligence and intentional torts, right? Go and review the black letter law. Fine. That is fine. And then go back and do the question. All right. That's good, Katya. 600 words to 1,000. Yeah. So that's what I want you to do. And then every time where you had an essay where you're like, oh, I didn't know this rule, and make a list. Just have like a running list that you have going. Be like, all right, I couldn't remember this rule. I couldn't remember like attractive nuisance doctrine. Couldn't remember attractive nuisance. Couldn't remember, proxy voting agreements, right? Like, who knows that? So I don't remember that. And I will cover what, how do you come up with a rule for that? I'll cover that in final forecast. And yes, I provide a list of essay practice topics. I give you a packet of essays to run through before the bar. When you come to final forecast, it's included. You get it the day of final forecast though. So when you make your list of like, all right, today I try to do these 3 essays or 2 essays, and I couldn't remember this, and this. And then you just start working. Then you just start like doing memorization. So you're going to dedicate a little bit of time to memorization every day. So you're going to dedicate, ideally 1 to 2 hours to memorization every day, where you're like, all right, I couldn't remember these rules today. And instead of just like reading something, that doesn't work very well. Quiz yourself. So do flashcards. I would just like write out stuff over and over. So I would just write out like the buzzwords and the rules over and over until I had it. And like I did it by hand, because writing by hand is better for memorization versus typing it. But like then my hand would cramp and I would just type them out to you. So you can do it either way. All right. And I don't write. The other thing is, I'm going to say this too. When you're doing memorization, do not try to memorize full rule statements. That's like, it's not a good use of your time. That takes way too much brain energy. The bar, when you're writing an answer, all you have to write is an okay first draft. You're not trying to write something beautiful. You're not submitting it to the court. You're not doing anything like that. It's just an okay first draft, typos included. Y'all will see when you see my model answers and stuff when I'm teaching, I intentionally leave my typos in there. Like which the perfectionist in me, it kills. And if I was writing to the court, that would never happen, but we're not. So this is just, you are doing something under, 30 to 60 to 90 minutes, and you've got to just get it in there. Like the most important thing is your thoughts, that they see what you are thinking, that you spot the issues. So every rule can basically be written as there is X when Y, right? So the buzzwords, right? So for negligence is my topic. The buzzwords are duty, breach, causation, damages. So it's just there is negligence when duty, breach, causation, damages. That's it. It's not a beautiful sentence, but who cares? Sorry, everybody. There's somebody at my door. Sorry, everybody. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, and my quick sheets are, and I'm gonna put the dog down. Archie says hi, and he's cheering everybody on. Just FYI. My quick sheets are really, I wrote them to memorize, to help people memorize. So yeah, so that's what I want you to do. Is ideally you're gonna write 5 essays in each subject in full. You're gonna do them closed note timed, and then I want you to also do some issue spotting. So issue spotting is 15 to 20 minutes, generally speaking. So 15 to 20 minutes, and you're gonna do this. So you don't know the subject or the topic. You're gonna write all the headings and subheadings. You're gonna put all of your facts in from the fact pattern under the appropriate heading and triage the issues. 15 to 20 minutes that's for California. I should say it's about half that for well, no, it's 15 to 20 minutes for the UBE, because you're going to have half that. California has about double the issue. So for the UBE, it's going to be like up to 15 minutes. All right. And then in about 10 to 15 minutes, you're going to write all the applicable rules. So you're going to practice doing that rule recall, and then you're going to assess, check your rules, check your fact use, check your issue spotting. So this is in all like a 30-minute exercise, 30 to 40, well, 30 minutes to like do the practice. And then another 15 minutes to self-assess. All right, memorization, work on it every day, 1 to 2 hours a day. Focus on your essay organization and structure. When you write an essay and you miss a rule or it doesn't come to you quickly, those are the things you need to memorize. So pay attention to that. When you miss an MBE and there's a rule that you genuinely didn't know, and I want to make a point to this for the multiple choice. If you miss an MBE and you're like, oh, that was a stupid mistake, like I know that rule. If that's the case, then you need to figure out, well, why did you miss that? Was it something, a word in it? Like what really is wrong? If it's truly a law that you didn't know, then do something with that information. Make a flashcard, whatever you like, do something to memorize. And then at the end of every day, you're gonna do some work on that. So you're gonna, write out the rules that you didn't know. You're gonna quiz yourself with your flashcards, whatever it is that you like. So PT practice, everybody can use the California PTs from July 2017. Well, I should say to July 2024 now. I should change that. And the NCPE website, these are ones that I like, that I think are all still freely available. Y'all can take a screenshot of it. If you want to take a screenshot, feel free. Everybody get their screenshot? All right, now I'm going to get to your questions. I'm going to get to your questions in the Q&A. But I hope to see a bunch of y'all in the final forecast. I hope to see a bunch of you in the, in our, oh God, the bar essay checkups. They're so, so helpful. And I know a ton of people that are here have done them. Also, just as an FYI for California folks, on Monday, I am doing a session about taking the bar exam remotely. So please join that. It's gonna be a longer session. This one is quick because y'all's time is precious right now, and it still is on Monday, but we're gonna talk about strategies for the exam, taking it remotely. All right, I'm gonna get to your Q&As now. Oops, I didn't mean to launch a poll. Yes, 7 p.m. Pacific time, yes. So somebody had a question about mastering the performance test. There is a new one. We just enroll people. Don't worry about that high end. That's okay. There's not a difference in the courses. It's just when are you taking the bar? And somebody's asking why are there 2 PTs in July 14? On the UBE, you get 2 MPTs. Okay, somebody asked, when is the final forecast? It's February 11th, and it's at 6 p.m. There's one for UBE, 6 p.m. Eastern, and one for California, which is at 6 p.m. Pacific. So somebody says they have a hard time reviewing your multiple choice, how to keep track of multiple choice. I mean, I let the app that I'm using track the data, and I follow that. It's really like in your dashboard, it should be there. Rewrite. So how do you review the PTs and essays without time to, so I just say for each essay that you write, if you're doing California, it's an hour essay. And oh, I'll put the link for final forecast in the chat. If you're writing, so Belmar, you're looking at the wrong thing. This is final forecast. It's a different product. So, and I'm gonna stop sharing. So I'll just be full screen with the Q&A. Okay. So how do you review the essays and the PTs when you don't have a lot of time? So you have to, for every essay that you write, if it's a 60-minute essay, it's about 30 minutes of review. That's about how long it takes. Should be doing, 1 to 2 essays a day. And the PT is the same, 90-minute PT is probably about 30 minutes to review. You might not have time to rewrite them. You might just go back through an issue spot or just focus on the rules that you missed. So that's what I would suggest. You have to just be very judicious with your time and say, okay, well, what can I do to get what I need from this review? So struggling with analysis for the PT, my videos are really good. My book, like literally, if you don't have the book lays out and shows you exactly how to write the analysis. So that's what I would suggest for that. It's not like a quick answer, because that's why I wrote a whole book that deals with that. For the MEE course, it doesn't look like yes, the style that I teach is similar when I do like a free webinar. Yes, it is very similar to that, but it's a lot of them. So it's a full course with an overview of a subject, and I go in sort of deep into everything. The UBE quick sheets, I am working on them. They are just not ready yet. I'm not quite sure. Answers that I write in my PT book, those are probably for the most part like a 75, 80. So if you can do about 70% of what I do, in each section, assuming that you have like 70% in each section is what you do, that's what I would suggest. All right. Somebody asked if the mock exam is not part of the basic core program. So if you want it graded, it's $249, and you can sign up for that on the website. I'll put the link as well for that. Somebody asked in the chat on the checkup tomorrow. It's both California and UBE. I cover both. You're in different rooms, and then I cover both jurisdictions. The final forecast is on February 11th. It's at 6 p.m. 1 at 6 p.m. Eastern, 1 at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hyen, I'm not quite sure of the question about the MEE and MPT. Sorry. I don't think that the Kaplan questions for California folks, where Kaplan is now writing the new multiple choice, I don't think the Kaplan questions are helpful. So I don't think you should go and buy those as well. They're the same that are in other programs. Somebody asked, is it more important to focus on remembering issue lists versus rule statements? I mean, you need to be able to issue spot and then know enough of the rules. So there's not really one that's more important there. I will try. Somebody asked if I could record a podcast on con law. I will try to do that. I have not been able to, and my schedule is very hectic. Vinti, yes. Somebody said they issue spot, they check what they did right and what they missed, they read the rules, and then they type closed book time. That's okay, but get out of that as soon as you can. And yeah, you absolutely can still attend, and you can still join the MPT course. Everything is on demand and recorded, except you can choose to have the join the checkups as part of it as well. Somebody said, what if they know the rule but didn't recognize that it was being used in the question? That's an issue spotting issue. So what I would do in that case on the multiple choice is, if that's you, then on your flashcard for the rule, maybe you have a flashcard that has the rule, put trigger facts. Okay, look for this type of fact to trigger this rule. All right. I don't know if the UBE quick sheets will be available for the February bar. I'm so sorry. I'm trying so hard to do it, but they take a lot of time. And I think I said this a few times. A few people asked it, but when will the final forecast be? It's for the UBE. It's at 6 p.m. on the 11th. The mock exam that's due by next weekend, that is the only one that we do. And Colin, if you needed a little bit more time to submit it, you can just email us and I can check. I will provide a study schedule in my final forecast session that covers the last 2 weeks. So somebody asked how many words for California essays. There's not really a word count, and you're not going to be able to see how many words you've typed with the new software. But I generally think that you can cover all of the issues in an essay, in like 1,100-ish, 1,200-ish words and do it well. I have seen some people, like I have one person that I work with who's here actually, who consistently writes really strong essays in like 900 words, and they're fine. So you just have to really be aware of, like, are you spending time on fluff? Are you talking about everything that's really sharp and relevant? Somebody asked about reviewing model essays from baressays.com. So I love baressays.com. I think it's a great resource. Their model answers, I think, tend tend to raise and dismiss more issues than necessary. So those are not done under timed conditions. So that's what I would really watch out for, is their model answers. And I have just a few more questions I'll get to, and then I'm gonna let y'all go. And if you've already put in a question, I will get to it if I haven't answered it yet. So how do you minimize timing on the PT? It's not too long. I mean, you have to practice it. You should be doing 2 PTs per week for the UBE at least. In California, you should be, I want you to do a minimum of 8 for California, and UBE a little bit more than that, more like 12. So somebody asked if I recommend redoing issue spotting the essays that you've already done. I generally think it's better to go through and see new fact patterns. You may as well. Like, the more exposure to different fact patterns and seeing how things are tested is the better. Triaging, somebody asked, what does triaging mean? So triaging means that you are looking at the issues in the fact pattern and deciding where to allocate your time. So that's what it is. I go into it in my essay courses as well. It's tough to really like distill it down in this, but it's just like, when you go to an ER, they triage patients. We're like, okay, this is a big issue. We got to deal with you first. And it's really not saying I'm going to deal with this first and then this and then this. It's just saying, okay, I got to get in and out of these intentional torts so I can get to my negligence analysis. So it's determining really your time allocation and where the points are. And yeah, if you don't have bar essays, do the ones on the state bar is great. Yeah. Somebody asked if the resources that you purchase from BarMD, not every single thing, but like courses and everything, if you get a free retake, if you have to retake the exam, yes. All right, everybody. I don't know if they'll test Civ Pro again. They could. They love testing Civ Pro. Somebody said that they're concerned about writing 2 IRACs for 1 essay. I think you need to really work on your essay structure. You wouldn't do a single IRAC for 1 essay. That, like, it doesn't work like that. So I would be curious to see what that looks like. But I don't, that doesn't sound right. All right, everybody. If you are, so I'll answer a couple more of these questions. Bar essay is not the simplest ones. No. I mean, you guys, I think you can do a trial if you want to see it. And I have a code if you do use bar essays. If you use BarMD as a code, I think you get a little bit of a discount. So I just put that in the chat. Somebody said, so for California and UBE, I recommend 5 closed note essays that you should do. I would issue spot as many more, like 10 more, is great. And yes, the final forecast will be recorded. Yes. So Kayla, after, I think the MBE and MEE subjects all deserve the same time. No, I mean, well, yes, I actually do. Because the MEE subjects, they test so much more on the essays than they do the MBE subjects. And the MBE, you need to know for the MBE. So yeah, you do really need to give them a lot of time. Somebody asked, I'm assuming this is when you're writing an essay, do you suggest to start with the issue that you know better first, or the ones where you have no idea? I don't do any of that. I just go and answer them in order, because you got to answer all of it. So I'm not going to change order and try to get more points by going deeper into something I know better. You've got to try. And in final forecast, I talk about how to do that. All right. Thanks so much for joining, everybody. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you being here. If y'all need anything, we're here. Hopefully I see you. You guys should absolutely join the checkups. The topics that are highly tested for real property, it's all of the topics are equal. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope this was helpful. Please tell people to join final forecast and the checkups and everything else. We appreciate it. And I just wish you all the very, very best of luck. Just keep your chins up. You've still got a lot of time to learn a lot. It's okay. So thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.